Hey cats, it's Ed, Heatwave Bud here. I think it's probably about 30 degrees in this room. It's punishingly hot. I've got an initial review for you today, people, of the Adidas Adizero Adios 8. A new iteration of a shoe that's been a personal favourite of mine over the last few years. I've had the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, and now the 8. I think it's a very specifically placed Adizero model within the Adidas running shoe lineup, and I'm very excited to let you know about the host of changes that we've got in this iteration. Let's get to it, people. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's always appreciated. Do give this video a thumbs up, like, and hit that subscribe button. It really does help out. Hit us up with a super thanks as well. It really does help the channel on a more ad hoc basis to keep the shoes rolling in. You know it makes sense. So we've got the Adios 8 here from Adidas. This isn't a shoe that they've sent to me or anything. I've just bought it from the website like normal folks do. So, you know, they're not paying me to make this or tell you about the shoe. It's just what I think of it. Now, the last two versions of the shoe I did buy in a UK 11.5. This is a UK 11 and it fits true to size. So if that's why you're here, that's the information you need. I don't think you need to go up half a size anymore in Adidas shoes. They seem to have sorted out that sort of strange sizing issue. Maybe aside from Ultra Boost and Yeezy models. These are coming in at a paltry 243 grams or 8.6 ounces in my UK size 11. I've gone for the classic Adidas black and white colourway. Does remind me of those Samba shoes from my youth, and even my prized Copa Mundial football boots. And here they are, people, 18 years on from when I got them, still looking really, really nice. They don't smell nice anymore, but they still perform. The leather is of exceptional quality. So you can't beat the black and white Adidas shoes, they just look awesome. Scored many a goal in this one and also been sent off a few times as well. So this one continuing to move in the right direction in terms of weight. The last couple have fluctuated a little bit, 285 grams in the Adios 6, down to 262 grams in the Adios 7. There appears to be no major change to the midsole stack in this version of the shoe. Despite Adidas's claims of a 28mm stack in the heel, there's quite a bit more. I got about 35mm here in my UK size 11. There's about 27mm in the forefoot. So it's making for about an 8mm drop, which is pretty much what we had in the last two. Now, they have changed the foam up in this version of the shoe. It's Light Strike 2.0 in the heel, and we still have that Light Strike Pro in the mid to forefoot. In the widest portions of the shoe, we've got about 11.7 centimeters here in the forefoot, and there's about 7.9 in the heel. If you're interested in terms of softness of that rear section of the shoe, I've got about a short A30 score, so it's a little bit firmer than the average that I've found over all the shoes I've reviewed. The average is about 28. Light Strike Pro pretty much comes in exactly where it always does, which is around about 27. Interestingly, if you measure the boost section that was in the Adios 4 and 5, that comes in at about 21. So Ultra Boost isn't this sort of super firm foam that people make it out to be. Okay, we'll kick it off with the upper first. I've taken these out for about 15 miles or so up to this point, so I've got a reasonable grasp of what the shoe's like. I'm not one of these reviewers that just goes out and does a quick 2 or 3 miles around the block or something. The upper is a thin mesh material the whole way around, with only some reinforcement in the toe box area, on those eyelet chains, and with a little bit here in the heel. I think that probably contributes to the drop in weight for the Adios 8. On the face of it, there appears to be a lot of changes here to this new version of the shoe, but actually it's more a greatest hits of all the recent Adizero models. You've got the felty tongue that we found in the Adios 7. The heel area here looks a little bit like the Adios Pro 3. The heel counter don't half look like the Prime X. And the overall profile of the shoe is very similar to the Takumi Sen 9. So it's all thrown into one, it's a bit of a greatest hits. I did find I want to cinch the laces quite a bit in this shoe to get a really good grip around the foot. It does feel a little bit like an old style race flat in some ways. If you like your tongues very cushioned, then you'll probably want to look elsewhere. It's just a piece of felt over the top of your foot to protect it from those laces. Even Mrs. Eddbud commented that the laces here do look a bit cheese cutter like, and she's not wrong. Though at least the ends of the laces are a little bit more solid this time around. I felt they were really cheap in the Takumi Sen 8. As I say, a couple of runs in these to get the miles up and get the opinions in. 10 miles or about 16 kilometers on the first one, and then about 5 miles or 8 kilometers in the second. It's been stonkingly hot the last few days, really punishing sort of temperatures for the UK, right at the top of what we normally get, or it's actually abnormal, really. I've been trying to get out in the mornings when it's a little bit cooler. I think first run was about 22 centigrade, and the second one today was about sort of 16, and that's like first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock or something. I felt that the upper on the Adios 8 is very breathable. I've never felt like my foot's getting too hot. It's certainly easier to dial in the lockdown than in the Adios Pro 3. I am enjoying the slightly more spacious toe box this time round. I think the width's been increased a tiny little bit. I've experienced no heel slip whatsoever in this shoe either. Like I said, you do have to cinch the laces up, but you do get a really good lockdown. I think people found the Adios 7, certainly in the standard width, just a little bit too containing, I suppose. The Adios 8 does feel like it's got a slightly better, more generous width. The tongue here is partially gusseted inside the shoe. There's like some elastic sections. They don't take up a huge amount of space though. I feel it does take away a little bit from the aesthetic beauty of the shoe. You can sort of see that elastic section coming through the mesh. Does look a little bit unsightly, but what can you do? I guess they could have made it black or something, but enjoying the upper on this shoe on my initial outings. It's certainly very sleek, very flexible. It tries to stay out the way as much as possible and just let the midsole do the work. The minimum materials here do remind me a little bit of the Hoka Rocket X2. It's certainly more fitting in the toe box area than something like the Vaporfly 3, and it's certainly a shoe for those people that really like that race flat feel and perhaps miss that type of shoe. You're going to really like it. I'm finding this the least present Adios shoe of the last few in terms of upper fit. So true to size, ample toe box room without that nasty sort of high arch that you do feel in some of the other Adizero models. Laces a bit thin, but they haven't really bothered me that much. It's not far off really the perfect super simple upper. I'll give it a 2.9 out of 3 after my initial runs. Midsole, midsole, midsole now. So in terms of the midsole, we've certainly got a lighter shoe than we had in the Adios 7, and it's substantially softer as well in the heel. It's certainly a lot more compressive back there due to that Light Strike 2.0 material. So there's a completely different balance here now where you had that firmer stuff in the heel. It's a little bit closer, I suppose, to the Light Strike Pro. It almost feels like they're trying to put a foam in here which is a lot more durable and is going to last the test of time, but that's closer actually to that stuff that we've got here in the forefoot. So more balance here. There's less of a considerable difference in the firmness between the two foams. I would suggest we're going to see a whole host of updates of Light Strike 2.0 foam in some of the other models over the coming months. Now, I wouldn't suggest you've got a crazy P-back style squash or compression here with Light Strike 2.0. It feels more like a sort of rebound like foam. I guess it's kind of similar to the stuff that we've got in the Hoka Rocket X2. It's a little less dense and tough than the last stuff, and as such you can pretty much take the shoe out the box and get some really nice fast miles in it. There's a lot of runners that have commented that the last couple of versions of the shoe have just been too firm for them in the heel. I think this will mean that the Adios 8 will appeal to a wider range of runners now. Now, on foot I'm actually finding the shoe a little bit more rigid out the box than the Adios 6 and 7. I think that is down to this sort of three-pronged plate that we've now got here in the torsion system. There are only 2 prongs in the last one. It does feel like it's a little bit stricter now. There's not quite so much bend to the shoe in that sort of mid to forefoot area. These 6 and 7 did soften up over time, and I think this one will probably do the same thing. Now, another interesting thing here is the amount that the midsole foam actually cups up and around the mid to forefoot. It does actually appear that there's a little bit more foam than there actually is. It's just a few millimeters sort of that are poking through that mesh area here. That is not the case in the heel. This one's certainly on the more minimal end of the stacks that you get in shoes these days. I took these out for some varied pace running, some easy warm-ups at around 8 minutes per mile, through to half marathon effort at around about 6 minutes 51 per mile, and then down to 10k pace, so that's about 6 minutes 30 through to about 6:40 per mile for me. Now this shoe is certainly light on foot. It really does help you to get a nice fast turnover, and is about the right amount of compression for most folks. I think that heavier set runners though will simply find that this combination is a little bit too soft and a little bit too lacking in height now. I think you'll probably bottom these foams out, and as such it's probably not the best option. I do feel it has the right amount of compression though for lighter runners. I think Adidas have got other shoes though for a range of runners. Up to this point I've probably found it to be best for me around marathon to half marathon pace, though as the shoe is breaking in a little bit and the midsole is starting to sort of crunch and crack somewhat, I think it is starting to feel better at 10k and 5k effort. The torsion system does help to sort of snap the shoe back into place, but I wouldn't suggest it's as energetic as something like the Hoka Rocket X2 or the Vaporfly Next Percent 3. Do be aware that that Light Strike 2.0 material really does crease up very quickly. As you can see in the heel there, it really is creasing even after about 15 or so miles. So the Adios 8 really does feel like a cut down version of the Adios Pro 3, though I'd suggest it's quite a bit more stable than the Adios Pro 3 because you don't have that huge cutout around the sort of arch area. I feel like it could be a good training model to utilize if you do like the Pro 3 for racing, though I do feel you can train and race in the Adios 8 if you wanted to. They've knocked off a good 20 or so grams from the previous version, and it brings us back down to the weight that we had in the Adios 4, believe it or not. So it's gone full circle in about 5 years. Adidas have finally figured out how to get the foams to that sort of point where you've got similar compression. They finally kind of put Boost to rest, though that shoe wasn't anywhere near as compressive as this one. I think it's great if you want a shoe that's usable for some speed sessions, perhaps where you're doing some repetitions or intervals, though it's certainly a more niche model now and perhaps oddly too close to the Takumi Sen. I mean, all that's missing from this shoe to make it that shoe is a full Light Strike Pro midsole, and this foam really isn't that far off Light Strike Pro. I guess it makes sense that people have been discounting the Sen 9 to about £135 here in the UK when this shoe has come in at 120 retail. Some more odd practices from the 3 Stripe brand, offering a shoe that's so close to the Takumi Sen with a wider forefoot at a less price. So this does offer something a little bit different on foot, I suppose, to anything else that's in the Adidas lineup right now. I'm going to give this one a 2.8 out of 3 for the midsole. I think it's softer now, but because we don't have that firmer sort of heel stack, it might not be enough for some runners. Perhaps it's one for the taller and lighter people now, who knows? Outsole now. Outsole wise, it's almost perfection from this Adidas shoe. We have that new 3-pronged torsion system that does actually make the shoe a little bit more rigid, though a little more responsive when it snaps back into place. There's certainly a larger mid to forefoot area now in terms of rubber, and there's not quite so many of those small ridges in the rubber than when we get loads of stones caught in them. I did get a few stones caught in these little areas on my initial run, but it's a big improvement over the Adios 6 and 7. I'm liking the patterned ridges here and that very tacky continental rubber. Lots of showers on the initial run, and that's a good test sometimes for an outsole where it's been very dry and then you get loads of rain. Sometimes a shoe can be very slippery. No such problems here in the Adios 8. Some people will once again moan about the 3 prongs of the torsion system, making the rubber and landing a little harder and less forgiving. Though it's a lower stack shoe, you're gonna get that sort of more responsive nature out of it. It really does feel like you're connected to the floor. There's way more grip and a more assured nature here than some of those more maximally cushioned stacks. Do be aware though, after only a short section of some cobbles, the torsion system's taken a bit of a beating. The plastic section here has become quite kind of coarse and torn up a little. You could wreck that plastic pretty quickly if you didn't watch it, so just be careful. So there's little to dislike here in terms of the outsole. It's a warrior of ultimate grip capabilities, though there's still a room for a couple of stowaways here and there. I'm going to give it a 2.9 out of 3 for the outsole after my initial runs. Value now. So at 120 smackaroonies for the Adios 8, I think it's a pretty decent price to pay for such a good quality shoe. Out the box, there's no dodgy sort of stitching or glue marks. Just feels like a nice, well put together item. Lightstrike Pro and the original Lightstrike had really good durability. Let's hope that Lightstrike 2.0 lives up to its cousins, I suppose. It's possible that this shoe might have a slightly different use case now. It could be that you're actually a bit disappointed that they've softened up the heel. It's certainly going to satisfy those who found the Adios 6 and 7 a little bit too firm and lacking in compression though. Certainly a more usable shoe now across a range of different types of runs. A better balance between the midsole materials, but is it now just a little bit too close to the Takumi Sen? It's certainly a more forgiving model than that Adizero SL. It's a million times better than that one. I guess if you look at pricing, you've got the Pegasus 40, which is about £5 less, but it does weigh 90 grams more. But it's horses for courses, isn't it? This is probably better and more nimble for speed sessions. It's similar in weight, but a touch more rigid than that Puma Liberate Nitro 2. Though the Puma shoe smokes this one in terms of price, you can pick that one up for next to nothing. That Liberate Nitro 2 does have a tad more cushion and sort of rebound to it as well. It's not quite as hard a ride. Now, you may be hankering for some air units or something within your shoe. If so, then this sort of more down-to-earth ride isn't going to work for you. Very low to the floor and very, very responsive. It's kind of an engaging shoe. It really wants to get you up onto your toes and running quick. I wouldn't say it's a more daily shoe than the last one, though it's much more enjoyable than the SC Pacer from New Balance, and it's way cheaper too. I'll give it a score of 2.7 out of 3 for value after my initial runs. It's certainly got the DNA of a super shoe, but I wouldn't call it one. There's some old school vibes here, and I don't just mean in terms of the profile. It's either going to suit a runner or not. Don't see too many people being on the fence about this shoe. It's either going to really work for you or you're going to want something with way more cushion. So if I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us 11.3 out of 12 after my initial runs for the Adizero Adios 8 from Adidas. Are you going to be picking up the Adios 8 now it's been released? Has the Adios series been one of your favourites? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. A quick musical interlude for you. I've been checking out the new album from Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds. Really enjoying the track Dead to the World. Some lovely acoustic guitar there. Beautifully recorded, really woody, lots of space. Reminds me of some of the early Verve material actually from the early 90s. Some really beautiful touches there, some lovely atmospheres. I think Johnny Marr must appear on this album at some point. There's certainly some Marr DNA in there. He's probably on a few of the tracks. I'll have to actually research that. The track Council Skies has got a real Marr vibe about it, which is no bad thing. I know that Johnny Marr and Noel Gallagher get on very well. In fact, watching a recent interview with Noel Gallagher, there's loads and loads of famous Johnny Marr guitars that feature on Oasis material back in the 90s, so it's no wonder really. It's like those guitars have got some sort of special power and magic about them that just jettison songs into another realm. Go and check this one out, guys. I think it's worth your time. I'm still sort of digging around in it, listening to it. Council Skies from Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. I do appreciate you tuning in. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud and I'll be seeing you. Hey there people, it's a misty morning out there today. It does feel like there should be a really big thunderstorm or something. But we've seen hardly any rain here down in the southwest. I'm hoping that it does break at some point because it is really muggy. You can feel the moisture in the air. A little bit cooler today though, so got out for some more miles in the Adios 8 from Adidas. Really liking this 3-stripe shoe. Although I'm a little bit confused as to where it sits now in the whole Adidas running shoe lineup. It's certainly softer, but I'm not entirely sure that that makes it a better shoe.